Hello, everyone. Welcome to this most awaited panel discussion centered on a very hot topic, the adoption of AI across industries in India. I'm Rajshri Rangan, Senior Vice President and Head of Development for Banking and Payments, FIS India and Philippines. Before we delve into this conversation, let me take the pleasure to introduce our esteemed panelists for today. Devrat Arya from Pepperfry, Kaustubh Laturkar from NSE IT, and Yashoraj Tyagi from Kashi. Now, let me kindly request each of our distinguished panelists to please provide a brief introduction about themselves and their role. Devrat, can we start with you first?
Sure, Rashmi. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you, FIS Global, for inviting me along with our esteemed panelists for this virtual session. Myself, Devrat Arya. I'm a VP of Technology at Pepperfry, and I take care of new initiative in the company concerning data analytics, augmented and virtual reality. So I've been to the part of the several technologies startups in the last 18 years of my career across various industries like e-commerce, education, recruitment, video delivery platform. And for the last 6-7 years, I am concentrating only on deep tech like AR, VR, deep learning, and blockchain. Thank you, everyone.
Wonderful, Devrat. Hearty welcome. Kaustubh, over to you.
Thanks, Rajeshri. Hi, this is Kaustubh Laturkar, Chief Business Officer for Digital Services at NSE IT. I am responsible for formulating, executing the business strategy across all dimensions of the digital business. I run the P&L for digital business for NSE IT. Before joining here, I was part of the larger senior leadership team at Cognizant's digital business.
Wonderful, Kaustubh. Pleased to have you. Yashoraj, can you introduce yourself?
Surely. Happy to be on the panel here. I had operations at Kashi. We are a 7-year-old fintech in the domain of credit, insurance, and wealth. And primarily, we're a credit-led financial wellness platform. And with data science and AI at the center of how we actually use data at scale to be able to further the cause of financial inclusion and give out credit to customers who are typically considered to be underserved and underbanked. And I've been here for 6 years now. Have been involved as part of the core team setting up our data science and technology stacks.
Thank you, Yashoraj. Thank you, and let's dive in. Our first topic for today is adoption of AI across industries. As the world continues to embrace AI and its transformative potential, India stands at the forefront of this technological revolution. Let us now aim to understand how organizations in India are harnessing the power of artificial intelligence to remain competitive. India's AI market is projected to grow from $680 million in 2022 to a whopping $3.9 billion by 2028 at a CAGR of 33.28%. Outstanding, isn't it? On that note, let me ask my first question. In your view, what are the key factors driving the current trends of AI adoption in India across various industries? Any thoughts on how AI-driven solutions have led to transformative outcomes within a specific industry in India? Let us hear from Devrat first.
Perfect. Thank you, Rashmi. So I believe there are two major factors that are driving the AI adoption in India. The first one is growing tech ecosystem, and second is access to data. There are many factors, but let me just talk about these two only. So India's thriving technological ecosystem has a biggest pool of software engineers. And the good part is most of the software engineer nowadays are switching from the normal software engineering jobs to a data scientist or ML engineering job. So means lots of the people are getting well versed into AI. So means more innovative solutions and the problem statement they will cater and solve it. So these kind of engineers and along with the leadership in the organization, they are pushing for adopting AI in every sector. So I can see that every day some organization is coming up with some niche AI solution with the most effective, innovative, and a cost-effective solution. So I think the growing tech is the basic premise for the whole AI adoption in India. Second is access to data. So due to the vast population and access to a smartphone at every household, so means everyone is generating the enormous amount of data, right? Which is what AI needs to develop and train the AI model. So now we don't need to worry about the data, right? The data is there. Now means if the data is there, the organization has to pick up the data or build up their own metadata on the top of that and push for a better innovative solution, means better AI adoption. On the second question on the specific industry which AI is transforming, let me talk about my industry, e-commerce. So generally in e-commerce, every company is focusing on data, every company is focusing on personalized customer experience. So personalized customer experience is actually a problem statement which has two-part solution. So the first one is to understand the psychological behavior of the user, the where the user is, what kind of a user is purchasing, what kind of a product, right? What kind of a frequency of the things the people are purchasing, right? With the event, let's say in a Diwali, or let's say in Holi or Independence Day, what kind of a people are preferring what kind of a thing. So these kind of a gives a psychological understanding of a particular user or a collage of users. Right. The second problem is the second part of the solution is to present in that way, which has to be very, very intuitive and simple. So, so on the first problem statement, people are building lots of models to learn all these behavior. And the second one is the visualization key. In the visualization key, what I can say with the current advancement of augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality, now the people can not only get the relevant product, they can not only browse the relevant product, they can also visualize it in the 3D spatial layout perspective. So I believe that the merging of AI plus AR, VR, MR tech will actually transform e-commerce industry, or I can say every industry wherever the use case fits in. So I believe that this would be a transformative journey for every sector in India.
Very well put, Devrat. Thanks for that. Kaustubh, what do you think about this?
Yeah, so Devrat covered two important topics in terms of availability of the data and the required skills. Let me add three quick areas why the adoption of AI within India context is increasing. Number one is the growing digital infrastructure, whether it is under the different initiatives of Digital India, whether it is digital payments through UPI, easy availability to internet, mobile, and so on. The digital for all is getting underscored within India. That's number one. Number two, the advancement of compute power cloud adoption has also provided the required foundation to AI so far. India is also looking at advancing in the space of manufacturing of the processing chips, and just the yesterday's news in terms of some of the companies tying up with the chip manufacturing companies, which was also discussed as part of G20 summit as well. Number three is growing digital transformation. I strongly believe that digital transformation and AI are complementary to each other. AI needs digital for fueling the algorithms, and digital needs AI to process and interpret large volumes of data. So across every industry vertical, as every client looks at reimagining, reinventing themselves, the adoption of AI within India will continue to be on the rise. Coming to the industry that I'm pretty close to, that is banking and financial services and insurance, the BFSI sector has been completely revolutionized with AI. Broadly, risk, fraud, and compliance are the areas that BFSI industry has been focusing on, with the omni-channel experience across phygital channels, as we call it, as which is physical plus digital.
Excellent. Thanks. Wonderful insights, Kaustubh. Now let's hear from Yasharaj.
No, absolutely. I think Devrat and Kaustubh have obviously covered some very significant and important points. But I do feel that from a sense of adoption, there have been a few major drivers. I think that we have witnessed one of the fastest rates of smartphone penetration that we have ever seen in India, obviously, but also globally as well. We have seen one of those faster rates of internet penetration. one of the cheapest rates of data access as well. All of this combined has allowed data with consent to be available at a scale that was not imaginable 10 years ago. And what happens as a result of that is that it puts the onus on organizations to actually develop capabilities to offer the same services, but now at in a much more customized, in a much more affordable, and in a much more, I would say, user-friendly manner than they were available earlier, by sort of actually harnessing all the insights available from this data that is now accessible at a large scale, and then go ahead and sort of deliver these to the customers. In our case, also, the whole reason that we have been able to sort of grow at the pace we've been able to over the last 6 to 7 years is only because of the fact that data availability at this scale allows us to actually put in place systems that are able to profile customers on alternative data points, and then allow for delivery of credit to them. This is the exact reason how underserved and underbanked customers are now coming into the fold of the formal financial services. That is something that was not, again, as I said, imaginable a year ago. The second point that I feel is also very crucial is because of development of things like the India stack and the peripheral stuff, which is democratizing data access around it, whether it be platforms like an OKIN or the RBI's latest platform, delivery of frictionless credit, or even platforms like an ONDC, which creates like marketplaces at scale. What happens as a result of that is that data accesses and availability of data become so so widespread that it becomes then easy for players with a relevant mindset to kind of develop solutions over and above that, which then again become AI-driven solutions, which now the data problem being solved for it becomes a problem of figuring out that how do the relevant how to bring develop the relevant sort of modeling practices, how to kind of get the right engines in place, and to make sure that you're able to do justice to your consumers in a platform as well as to the kind of data that you have accessed.
Thank you, Yasharaj. I guess, we had a great start to our discussion today. Now, let me bring up the next question on the same topic. Devrat, let me start with you. Could you highlight some challenges organizations are facing while integrating AI in the Indian context, and what strategies can help these organizations to overcome the challenges?
Perfect. So in India, actually, the adoption of AI is in a nascent stage. So I feel that the people or the organization will get many challenges on the way. So the primary two challenges which I can foresee is, the first one is data quality. So as the data is huge, the generation of the data is huge across every platform, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. Millions of the videos are circulating, millions of YouTube videos are circulating. But the biggest problem, and also in the financial sector, right? Every data is getting gathered, psychological analysis and everything. But most of the time, what I feel is the quality of the data is not that great. It is just on the raw format. So as a nascent stage in the Indian context, I feel that the high quality and the diverse data set is still limited to some sector, and let's say in urban areas only, right? So to overcome this, I think the company has to invest more in the data collection and a data cleansing exercise. Means more have to be invested into the data engineering part rather than creating machine learning models. So I think that is the first challenge which organization has to overcome. The second is cost of implementation, right? So AI is the new paradigm. So means everyone is starting new, right? Everyone is starting new. Most of the people does not understand that what kind of nitty-gritties are there when you are implementing it. What kind of a skilled AI workforce you require, so that you can deliver the problem statement in a much more easier and a cost-effective manner. So I think while implementing, cost of the implementation will become, at the initial stage, of course, will be gigantic, right? Lots of the people will just do hit and trial, and basis on that, some of the companies will arrive at some cost-effective model. So I think these are the two basic challenges which in India context, every company will face.
Very well put. Data and past. Kaustubh, do you have anything to add on the challenges?
Yeah, so Rajeshri, I remember two of my recent conversations with our customers. In my discussion with one of the CEOs of a large insurance companies, he told me, hey, life insurance is a business of dealing with no, right? So whenever a sales agent calls the prospects in terms of selling the life insurance policies, the first thing that they deal with is a no, but still they have to persist with us. So the question from the CEO was, how can AI help me to improve the sales through the channel of sales agents on the field? Something very similar, I had another conversation with the group CIO of a leading IT securities company. And she asked me, in my role as a global CIO of a multi-billion organization, I report to the CEO, how can AI help me to increase the revenue by 2%? So organizations are clearly looking at business outcome from AI, and they're struggling to break down the business outcome and the top-down vision into specific business use cases, which can be more consumable in nature. And also they are struggling in terms of tracking the outcome of AI implementation, whether it is tangible or intangible benefit. So I recommend engaging at the right level in design thinking workshops to really define, ideate specific problem statements to be solved. Second area which I believe the organizations within India are struggling is the whole ethical and the regulatory angle. So again, another example, right? If you Google simple things like grandfather, grandmother, or carpenter, CEO, you will see the publicly available data when you look at all the images out there is either skewed towards a particular gender, race, ethnicity, or whatever. So publicly available data also is extremely biased. And hence it is extremely important for organizations to address privacy, biases, fairness, as far as the AI algorithms are concerned. For example, companies like Dunzo, right, an Indian hyperlocal delivery service, has implemented bias mitigation technique to ensure fair and unbiased outcomes in the recommendation engine that they have put together.
Brilliant, Kaustubh. I mean, I really enjoyed you bringing in, real life use cases and customer perspective. Yashoraj, what do you think on the challenges?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, like challenges could be, that organizations typically face realistically could be multifold. A lot of them are, I would say organizational and organizational design related challenges as well. Entities that are supposed to have the highest impact in terms of implementation of AI from the perspective of their own efficiency improvements, service delivery, as well as from the customer experience perspective, are the organizations that are considered currently to be fairly large orgs and MNCs in those perspectives. And while digital transformation is a very loosely thrown around word, I believe that it is tough for an organization which has operated in a certain manner to change their way of delivering services to change the way they manufacture the services, look at data overnight. And I feel that that's where a lot of challenges do come in terms of reshaping the fundamental DNA of the org, reshaping the thinking of the organization, changing the product delivery psyche. Second, this reason is a very reason why you see this entire thing about disruption coming to forth, in which you had startups disrupting the work that was typically being done by fairly large orgs, typically because they're not as flexible to change as they should be. And that's where a lot of resistance to implementing newer technologies come in. Second reason is from a technical standpoint as well. See, whenever while AI in the relative scheme of thing is not, I would say, a buzzword per se, but then still it is fairly new in the paradigm of technology and the technologies that are currently adopted by organizations. So whenever this is the case, there's a lot of noise around there, and it's very difficult for a lot of organizations and practitioners to separate the noise from the actual crux of the problem. And a lot of people do get distracted by the noise as well. You always have the shiny object problem that every month there is some new innovation, some cool thing coming out, and people are in the race to see that, okay, how do we implement that? The same thing happened with blockchain. The same thing is happening with ChatGPT right now. And it's important to know that, okay, let's focus on what is really important, and not go behind whatever is sounding cool right now. Large organizations typically don't have to do it. For younger organizations, there's a valuation game thereafter, and which is also not sustainable. But yeah, I think that focusing on what is exactly important, and designing and moving the organization in the towards that goal is fundamentally, I think, that is very crucial to get to make the organization a fundamentally AI driven organization.
Absolutely. Brilliantly put, Yasharaj. Now over to you, Devrat. What advice would you give to businesses seeking to replicate the success of AI-driven initiatives from your experience? If you can keep it just 1 or 2 points, please.
Sure. So I think there is only one singular advice which I want to give when we want to initiate AI-driven initiatives. So the first one is very, very clear. Then the company and the top leaders should have a broader vision how to adopt the AI, along with the very crystal clear business goal and objective. Right. So if we are doing it in a proper manner, then I think within a period, and also employing various in-house AI talent, along with basically putting the people on the several training programs so that the people will get the AI things very, very fast. So for an example, when for the last 1 year in the Pepperfry, we have been doing lots of these kind of business goals and strategy meetings, and we came up with the idea that let's start implementing the AI in everything. Whatever the things which we are doing manually, let's start implementing it. And in the first thing which we have done in the SEO part, immediately the SEO boosted 50 points up. So now we are in a very proper 100, almost close to 100 point goal zone, and that is a very, very good target to achieve. And within let's say 7 or 8 months before, it was around 60 or 70. So I think that has given us lots of benefit. And let's say when we are thinking about, let's say, product description generation, image tag generation, all these things are possible. Now we have, let's say, 1 lakh SKUs. We can generate everything in, let's say, under 30 minutes, which was originally taking 30. Basically, every day people are putting lots of hours into that. So I think these kind of a crystal clear vision and what you want to deliver, if the outcome is perfect, then I think AI initiatives can become very, very positive in the sense of revenue.
Brilliant. Thank you. Kaustubh, what would be your quick advice?
I'll keep it simple. I'll give a framework called ABCDEFG, and I will cover that in a minute. A stands for algorithm. I strongly believe that approach of human science plus data science put together is very important. And as the social scientists also say, the algorithms should not be only looking backwards in terms of the past data, past behavior, but they should also be looking at individuals and what are they trying to become in the future. So A for algorithm. B stands for the business objectives, and all of us spoke about different design thinking workshops and the business use cases. T stands for the culture, because implementing AI is very culturally intense exercise, which is where the AI conversation has really moved from the server rooms into the boardrooms. D stands for data. Data for AI, AI for data is extremely crucial. E stands for empathy, and that's where the problem statements and the emotion behind the problem statement is very important. F is the feedback loop. What happens is AI, when you implement, it generates data. You will have to complete the feedback loop by getting the generated data back into your algorithms. And G stands for the overall governance, whether it is fairness, biases, inclusivity into the models. That's the simple framework of ABCDEFG that I would recommend.
That's brilliant. I think you should patent ABCDEFG. Brilliant. So Yasharaj, what is your advice?
So I mean, like, it's fairly. I'm like, after the previous answer, I don't think I have a lot to add there. But so to kind of really replicate the success of AI initiatives, it's more of a question of intent and patience, I would say, because it's not as an off-the-shelf buying experience as people do think it is. It is not that on Monday you come to office and say that, hey, today onwards we are a data-driven and AI-driven company. It never works like that. It's a journey. It took us 2.5 years to actually get our credit scoring algorithms in place, because you have to get your data right, you have to get your infrastructure game right, and then you figure out that what sort of right modeling tools are out there, and more importantly, what is the problem you're really trying to solve for. it's a big difference in claiming on paper that yes, we use machine learning to actually using machine learning in production. It is also a personnel problem. You have the right set of people in the organization who can actually go ahead and build those solutions and maintain and operationalize those. So I think that there's patience is one thing that it's very rare in sort of entities who are trying to like solve for this. And I think that I'm like being at it and building out the organization to have put data and AI as a centerpiece, and waiting it out till you've got the right sets of results coming is what is really needed today.
Very, very pragmatic. Thank you, Yasharaj. Now let's move on to our next topic, that is generative AI and data. In the context of data-driven decision making, how can businesses leverage data to gain a competitive edge in the Indian market, and what role does AI play here?
Perfect. So I think when we are talking about the generative AI, people are using ChatGPT and other generative AI tools for blog articles creation, finding their answer quickly, right? Creating automated reels and posts on social media and everything. But as a true believer of generative AI, and also when we are thinking about the competitive edge in the India market, I believe the customized, tailor-made, in-house solution is the way forward. So the tools like LangChain, Llama 2, all these can be a very, very great help for the organization, and also it gives a very competitive IP also inside the company. So for an example, if the organization is already having, let's say, years and years of the data, past data, then the generative AI can be used to analyze the predictive historical data patterns, generate forecast and scenario analysis and everything, which can later on be used as a strategic planning and a better decision making. So I think when we are thinking about the competitive edge, the custom made solution on the AI or the generative AI perspective would be very, very helpful.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Devrat. Kaustubh, what do you think?
In the context of data-driven decision making, your pinpointed question, right? The way I look at that is harnessing power of data comes in 4 steps. Number 1 is the data strategy. 90% of the data on this planet is created in the last 10 years, right? So organizations need to really identify the internal and external data that's important for them. Data foundation is extremely important. I was talking to another CEO of a large brand. Think how many KPIs that you really track in terms of running your business as a CEO. He said there are only 6 KPIs that I worry about, which are backed up by another 20 plus KPIs. So focus should be on metrics that matter in the organization. So that's the second point in terms of data foundation. Number 3 is governance and monetization. We spoke about the overall data governance part earlier on. And lastly, the culture of the data related decisioning, right? So whether it is different set of use cases of data-driven decisioning in the context of India, the culture of storytelling, which is data-driven, is extremely important. So in the industry that I am closer to, identifying customer segments, preparation of the personalized marketing campaigns, optimization of pricing strategies, demand forecast, understanding the customer preferences, optimization of supply chain, minimizing the inventory, and so on. These are some of the areas that we believe where the data-driven decisioning is already getting applied.
So, I think a large part of that was covered by Devrat and Kaustubh already. But I feel that, irrespective of whatever is happening with generative AI, and which does, put certain organizations at an advantage, which are in the capability of creating fundamental models out there, with the likes of ChatGPT being there. But that is more something that I think organizations that you would traditionally call big tech would be involved in. For everybody else who's then leveraging and transfer learning on such technologies, and who's trying to leverage their own data to sort of build out solutions like that, and sort of in a way outsource decision making, the way you call it, to AI, I feel that there's still some while to go there. Because I feel, as we were just discussing right now, that there is a long way to go for a lot of organizations, typically traditional ones, in actually getting their data game right? Like, do people actually know, in the truest sense, what sort of the data, what is the sort of data do they actually have? If they do know, is there in a format that they can actually consume it? A lot of times the answer to that question is no, right?
Yeah.
Number three, even if they can consume it, do they have the infrastructure to actually process it real time and offer real time insights? The answer to that question is also no, more often than not. And number three, that even if you have got consumers, right, like typically the platforms like ChatGPT or any large language model or anything to do with personalization of customers involves actually knowing customer data at scale as well. All of the folks in financial services do KYC, but do we really know our customer? And the answer to that question is also no, right? So I think that fundamentally this solves with saying that let's understand the data better, right? Like I think people work in a very binary problem right now, saying that, okay, we have to solve this X problem and then let's start from scratch, right? Like how many times do organizations actually put in fundamental attention to building out a data platform and saying that, everything downstream would be derived from this as well. So I think that, getting the data game right, building the infrastructure to support your data use cases and knowing what are the top 5, top 6 problems or Pareto problems you have to solve for is fundamentally important. And then whether you use LLM models, whether you use ChatGPT or whether you use simple regression is then a downstream decision you take basis the kind of problems you have to actually solve.
Agree with every word of yours, Yashoraj. So AI, especially Gen AI and its economic impact on the world was a major talking point at the recently concluded G20 summit. The world leaders discussed the development of AI and the ethical concerns around it. So Devrat, what do you think about ethics and AI?
Yeah, so when we are talking, so basically when we are thinking about AI can be a very good tool also, AI can be very bad tool also, right? It totally depends upon how do we train it and for what purpose. So let's say if we are building, if we are thinking about AI to be used in a proper manner, we have to put up proper rules and regulation and norms around it. So that comes under the arena of ethical AI. So ethical AI actually eliminates all the human biases, which will put the proper transparency in the system, which later on can be used to avoid any harmful consequences and discrimination. So I think the ethical implementation is very, very important in the AI in the coming days.
Sure, Kaustubh.
So funding poured in the digital transformation globally is comparable to GDP of one of the large developed countries, so to say, right? And digital is all about reinventing, reimagining your business. With that being said, the generative AI will emerge as a key driver to digital transformation to reimagine the business. And while the opportunities are huge, there are 3 concerns that I would like to highlight back to your specific question, right? So number 1 is the accuracy of outcome generated by the generative AI and its algorithms are very difficult to endorse, right? So it cannot be really guaranteed in the context of biases or inappropriate content. Human is definitely required in terms of being in the loop to moderate the entire outcome. And I call these roles as man-machine coordinators, which will definitely start mushrooming going forward. The legal angle of generative AI is very important here. It raises questions in terms of how legal and who is going to be the owner of the outcome driven legally in terms of the machine generated contents that we are talking about from generative AI. And some of the foundational models of Gen AI are not really suitable for some specific scenarios, which will introduce a new level of complexity in the security front also. These are some of the initial areas wherein the Gen AI is getting looked into. But definitely there is a much brighter future ahead, again, in the light of the G20 summit that got concluded yesterday.
Absolutely. Yashoraj, what do you think on ethics, responsible AI? I mean,
I'm like that's been a talk of the town for a while now, and with generative AI, I would assume that it's at least achieved what we call as a local maximum right now. Because there are a lot of concerns around that. There was this entire debate about pausing AI research in the first place by a lot of entities as well, in the light of ethical concerns that came around. And I fundamentally believe that while it's two sides of the same coin, that it should not be that people press the accelerator so hard that you're not able to differentiate between what is like the truth and what is like an AI generated version of the truth. You had all sorts of images floating online, which showed, a lot of folks doing a lot of things, it seems like actual images of, say, Elon Musk on a New York street, distributing whatever sandwiches, which is almost realistic in nature, right? So the idea is that everything requires certain guardrails to be used upon. The same thing that, if you look at back in history, was when computers actually came in place, that people had all sorts of ethical concerns around that too. I think it's more about setting guardrails, knowing about what are the applications of that technology, and what are the where is it that is actually going to get plugged in, like Chat GPT and any LLM model or any deepfake model, the way you call it, has this fundamental problem of what you call as hallucination, right? Like in the sense that it generates results that are not actually right, but they're seemingly correct, right? And that also brings into the concern about how trustworthy certain results are, which ultimately kind of goes back to my initial point about what are the use cases, what are the limited set of things you're going to use it for, and then build the guardrails around it to make sure that beyond that, the relevant set of checks and balances that are being used, so that we're not being bombarded by things that either don't make sense or kind of distort the actual version of what is considered to be reality and the truth. So that's really what it is. I think that starting now is the right time to build, have the debate and then have the relevant set of organizations and policies that set up those guardrails around the usage of such tech.
Absolutely, very exciting, at the same time very scary as well. Now let's move on to discuss the future of artificial intelligence. AI has the power to revolutionize financial services, including banking and payments. There are already many positive use cases, including know your customer, fraud prevention, fraud detection, product generation, financial analysis, forecasting, sentiment analysis, so on and so forth. There is so much that AI can add to a business for customers and employees alike. Devrat, my question is for you. Do you think AI can replace human decision-making completely in the future?
So let me give a very personalized opinion on this question. So I think the various aspects of AI was created to imitate human intelligence and to make everyone's life easier. So personally, I would love it if AI replaces my decision making in most of the use cases, not all the use cases. So means all the trivial task has to be done by AI, which gives me a little peace and a breather so that I can do something more. I can put my time into thinking something better, something creative, and something futuristic. That is the viewpoint which I want to make here.
Brilliant, Kaustubh. What do you think?
Well, one of the studies says that 12% of the jobs will go because of AI, 13% jobs will be fresh, new, they'll be created, and 75% of the jobs will kind of get augmented. They will not be the same as they used to be in the past. With that being said, I believe that AI and the human decision making, it's not mutually exclusive, but it is more complementary in nature. Humans possess the critical thinking, creativity, emotional intelligence, the ethical judgment, and so on, whereas AI is able to kind of make sense on large amount of data. So both AI and the humans or the decision making capacity are here to stay together and augment each other.
Sure. Yashwaraj, what do you think?
So I would also second the thoughts that are related by Devrat and Kaustubh. I don't feel that while I agree with Devrat that I would love it if a large part of my decisions are outsourced to AI. But I feel that as I say that there's this concept of human in the loop, which I feel that which will largely get changed to what I view it as creativity in the loop, because there is jobs that require fundamental amount of some bit of creativity, not in the sense of creative arts, but in some thoughts of thinking out of the box, will still continue to be human maneuvered. And I feel that with any new tech like LLM models or image generation models, I also fundamentally believe that there's decent amount of QA in the loop, which will be human as well, which will continue to be there. Like, for example, even if we look at the most basic use of Chat GPT, which for things like customer support today, a lot of organizations have a fundamental issue that, that LLM models give a gibberish response after a certain amount of time, or they might give a random response to something they're not really being cross-trained on. And hence, a certain amount of QA will still continue to be every time we put new technology out there.
Thank you, Yasharaj. Very interesting answers from all three of you. This brings us to the final question of today's panel discussion. So, Devrat, this is again for you. What untapped opportunities do you see for AI implementation in India? And how can businesses effectively leverage AI to drive innovation and growth?
So, as in India, everyone is behind education, right? So I believe the AI will change the landscape of the whole education sector. So with the custom GPT model, with the Chat GPT, or multiple people are doing lots of the things in edtech spaces. So I think if one of the company I came across, they are building custom models to train any syllabus of any school and colleges. So means you just put the books, upload the books, and the AI, OpenAI will train everything, and you can have a converse with the AI. You can ask the question to AI in a voice format, in a text format, right? So means if this tool is given to any student, right, which is more than 4.5 crore people in India, which is currently into the education. So if these people will get these kind of a tool, they will not learn the depth of the topic, they will also learn the breadth of the topic as well. So means they are not confined to the space of their school or some 1 or 2 teachers or coaching institutes. It will be like infinite number of knowledge pool will be available to them. The same use case can also be used as a because I have been into the recruitment space for so long. So the same tool can be used with a little bit tweaks as a personalized assistant app, which can be for interview preparation or career guidance. So while going in the car, the AI is preparing me for an interview. That's the best use case which I can find, right? So I believe the education and the hiring space will be the most, what can I say? They will leverage the AI in much more better way.
Transforming the future of education. I love it.
Yes.
So what have you got?
2 areas that I believe will undergo a lot of transformation because of AI in the context of India market, right? One is United Nations has established 17 sustainable development goals like zero hunger, zero poverty, gender equality, affordable energy, and all of that. So AI has already started making a lot of difference in each of these sustainable development areas. In the context of India, the Office of Principal Scientific Advisor, PSA, to Government of India has launched a platform called Manthan, which is India's platform for innovation and R&D. Anybody having any problem statement across these 17 sustainable development goals can launch a problem statement there on Manthan, as well as anybody within India and globally can also respond if he or she has got any solution around it. So that's one area that I believe will go through a lot of transformation. It also got underscored in the G20 summit yesterday in terms of the sustainable development goals of United Nations. That's one. Second thing is the overall pharma and healthcare related sector. So AI can definitely help in terms of diagnosis, drug discovery, personalized medicine. For example, the paracetamol that all of us consume, we don't care about which company really manufactures that paracetamol, right? Eventually, where the world is moving towards is a personalized medicine. So there will be a paracetamol created for XYZ individual consumers, right? So personalization through AI in the sector of healthcare and pharma is going to be the next new thing in that industry vertical.
Excellent. I mean, very interesting answer. Sustainability goals and precision medicine. Yasharaj. Yeah. What do you think?
So I would also name 2 things. One of them is what actually Kaustav just mentioned about. I'm personally very excited about the advent of what we call as next generation of modern healthcare now. Because drug discovery is a very expensive, very slow, comparatively, very research R&D driven, which increases the barriers to entry. And a very iterative process. One of the fastest drug discovery processes that we have seen probably in our lifetimes is the COVID vaccine. which to come up to the scale did take 2 years, which is a very, very, very rapid and a very short time going by drug discovery timelines. But I do feel that with a lot of stuff around your own, biomarkers, as the people call it, being available now, it gives an enormous amount of data to organizations to process that and create curated solutions that help people actually get customized healthcare, as Kaustubh just mentioned. And this is personally something I'm very excited about. Second thing, which I wanted to mention was, see, this is a concept that has been thrown around since almost 2003, when Jeff Bezos mentioned that everybody's Amazon app should be different. But I do believe that right now is a time where you are truly in a space where you can disrupt this entire concept of hyper personalization of anything. Right? We spoke about healthcare right now because it's a specific case study. But in my opinion, whether it is financial services, whether it is education, whether it is entertainment, I think that because of, again, the kind of data that is available now, because of the kind of personalization that can be created with it, hyper personalization will get its own meaning by itself, and that's why you see this latest thing people speak about, which is called a segment of one. You don't really have to say that I've got a segment of 20,000, 30,000 people. You can actually create a segment of one now and create services to actually cater to that. So that's something, again, that I'm personally very excited about, and see a lot of action that will happen in that space going forward.
Excellent. Healthcare 2.0 and hyper customization. Awesome answers from all three of you. As we wrap up this thought-provoking panel discussion, I'm deeply grateful for the valuable insights shared by our esteemed panelists. Thank you, Devrit. Thank you, Kaustubh. And thank you, Yasharaj.